again and again.
As Hurricane Sandy is literally descending upon the East Coast and all of the chaos that will follow, it was driving into the studio today. I was actually thinking, is this like a harbinger of, for those that believe God may be punishing America, is this a harbinger of that? Or is it, because what is it? I mean, it seems to me that when things begin to rapidly decline, it's not just a singular issue you're dealing with. Like, we're dealing with the economy. It's going to be tough to get over. No, we're dealing with the economy. We're dealing with criminal, treasonous, evil people that have infiltrated the highest levels of government, that have completely hijacked the republic. So we're dealing with just all kinds of different issues that all are coming to a head at one time. My name is Fabian for Liberty. The website's fabianforliberty.com. Excited about the guest we're bringing on here in just a minute. Charlie McGrath from Wide Awake News. He is, like I said in the YouTube video that I posted before the show, a pioneer in not just the alternative media, but on the front lines of calling this unfolding economic collapse now for years. And this information is really the type of information that is critical to get out, because I get calls all the time. Fabian, how do we wake people up? My friends and neighbors, my family members, they think I'm crazy. Well, you're obviously not crazy. You're just dealing with reality, and most people don't. I mean, the reality is that major studies show that less than 5% of the population are actually thinkers. Most people just go along with what the media tells them to do, or goes along with the prepackaged two-party system that they're supposed to be voting for. That's the new America, right? So we're trying to take it back to restoring it to the old America, where actually principles and values mattered, where it meant something. Fortunately, we have really a long fight in this. So, all right, like I said, with no further ado, we have Charlie McGrath from Wide Awake News. Charlie, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's nice talking with you. I've been watching your videos now for a really long time. Like I said in the introduction, Charlie, you've been talking about the economic collapse for a while. I get the question all the time, because I've been talking about it for a while as well, which is, oh, you've been talking about collapse. It's not here yet, or it's not. I can still go to my ATM machine, pull out money, whatever it may be. How do you respond to such ignorance, Charlie?
That's a really good question, and I've seen, and you have as well. I've seen a lot of people come and go in alternative media because they want to get caught up in an argument like that, right? They're going to get some kind of negative comment on a video, or if they have a radio program, they're going to get negative feedback or callers on that. With people who just absolutely do not want to see the forest through the trees. And they think because, it's Monday night and here in a few minutes Monday Night Football is going to kick off that we're going to be okay. You're not going to show. I mean, these are the same people that would have been, watching cattle cars full of Jews go down the railroad tracks on their way to Auschwitz and saying, wow, come on, when's this tyranny really going to start? I don't see it happening to me. And I know that sounds really, grandiose and over the top, but it's not. I mean, it's not. We've doubled our national debt in the span of one president. We've seen the housing sector fall farther than it has during the Depression of the 30s. We've seen unemployment and food stamps become the only thing that's keeping a so-called recovery in the positive column. And still, to do that, you have to take participation rates to historic lows as far as the unemployment numbers go in order to pretend that we're in any kind of recovery. There is no recovery. And if somebody wants to stand before you and say that, we're doing pretty good, we're doing all right, we're coming out of it, that person, that individual is, he is going, or she is going to end up being nothing but fodder. They're going to stand there with the deer in the headlights look until the freight train just absolutely, bowls them right on over. So at this point in time, I would say, there's no helping somebody that doesn't want to know the truth. If they want to be lost in their normalcy bias, you got to let them go. You got to let them go. And the only hope that you and I have, Fabian, is that they remember something that you said or I said or somebody else in alternative media said about the situation that they're going to find themselves in. And hopefully they've listened to some point where they're sitting there with some kind of preparation or some kind of an idea in place of what they're going to do when this all comes falling apart.
Yeah, it is really amazing how people process it. I was at a big box store just over the weekend, and I'm looking around, and people are getting their Halloween decorations, and they're getting all ready, buying all kinds of crap. And that's I have kids, I'm getting Halloween decorations as well. I'm living my life, and generally I'm optimistic about my future because I know it's in my own hands. I control it, not the globalist bankers who've hijacked the republic. But nonetheless, I also deal with reality. I know what's coming financially, so I'm preparing and taking the steps that I need to take to protect my family as well. But people are so out of touch. What really is striking is how out of touch they are when it comes to the two-party system. They actually think they have a choice in this election, and when both candidates basically have the same policies. And not one of them are talking about the real policies. Now, in that world that we live in, where it is these two parties, Charlie, how do you feel we break through that? Like, how do we break through that and get some candidates that are actually really talking about liberty and freedom, really talking about what's happening with the economy, and give them a chance to actually compete on the debates and gather the support of the people?
Wow, that's a tough question, and it's not one I have an optimistic answer for. There's a lot of people that believe that local is the way to go, and I do believe in building a community. Now more than ever, you better know who's in your, who the sheriff is, who your neighbors are. You better understand who's living around you. But I've had people come on the program. I've had third-party candidates come on the program. This big third-party debate that just happened the other night. Another one's happening tomorrow, and there's even if we took a optimistic number of 100,000 people tuning in to listen to this or to watch it, I think that is an optimistic number. Unfortunately, there is nothing, and this is really negative, Fabian. So I hope I don't bum you out here. But there is nothing. There's nothing we can do with our current political system because it isn't a representative. We don't have representative government. We don't have representative parties. The only thing that could potentially happen to cause a return to a constitutional republic and not this two-party dominated joke that we're running right now is a total and complete collapse of our financial system, of our political system, and then have people on the backside of that collapse saying, look, we saw what brought us here. We were talking about what brought us here. If you want the answers, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to return to a constitutional republic. Because as it stands now, you can have somebody with the greatest ideas. You can have somebody that is completely, in their heart of hearts, sold out to making this nation a great republic once again. And they stand a snowball's chance in hell of getting anywhere near a position of leadership. And I'm not talking the presidency even. I'm talking a position of leadership anywhere in Washington, D.C. This two-party system, this corporate-owned two-party system, they control every aspect of legislation. A lot of people say that it's just the big banks who are backing Obama and Romney, and they get their guy in there and everything goes their way. Well, it isn't that easy. I mean, I'm sure these corporate special interests would love to get off that cheap, but they can't. So they got to go ahead and fund the political careers of the folks in the Senate and the House in order that they can control committees. And once they control committees, because they control long-term representatives and senators, then everything that is even brought to the floor will have a corporate spin put onto it. So this system that we have now, and I get this a lot as well, along with the, when's the collapse going to happen? I get the, well, we deserve what we got because we voted these people in. And my answer is simple to that. No, we didn't. We didn't. Yeah, we voted for the best funded. That's all we voted for. That's it. We didn't vote for the best by a long shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't even have the option, really, of voting for someone. I mean, like you said, it's supposed to be candidates that or politicians that represent the will of the people. So the people elect the members of Congress. They go to government. It's a democratically elected form of Republican government. Of course, we have nothing like that. They represent the corporate interests that elect them. So I actually agree 100% with your answer, Charlie. And it's interesting how it's like how's it going to go down, right? Will it be utter collapse and then the American people wake up to, hey, constitutional form of government was the best way. Our founders actually, the reason they went into a constitutional form of government was because they had seen of past empires that had declined and had collapsed and how that happened. But it seems like to me that in the America that we live in today, the worse things get, the more the majority want government to do more. It's not like they're saying, okay, hey, government screwed it up. That's the problem. It's like, no, government, we want you to do more now because things are worse. So and you know, you see that like after the Weimar Republic, you know, the strong men ascends. And, you know, that's what I'm fearful about in America, you know, especially in the collapse situation. There's riots in the streets. There's all kinds of civil unrest. They're going to, you know, they're going to do whatever. The American people, or a good portion of them, will go to the guy that says, hey, or a girl that says, I can make this stop. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're right. And you know, you can back that up because the facts are 165 million Americans are right now relying on Big Brother government in order to put food on their table. And I hope nobody misunderstands that as a slight on the people who need assistance. I'm all for helping my fellow American out. I'm not all for helping out corporate special interests with never-ending bailouts. But nevertheless, you know, even if we are helping our neighbors out because they've been foreclosed on or lost their job, they can't find a new one, they need to be on whatever program or safety net, we end up building this giant swath of the population that is now subservient and beholden on government in order to put food on their tables. And you know, that coupled with the normalcy bias that we have from the mainstream media in Washington, D.C., which is everything's going to be okay, don't change your standard of living, don't change you know, the house you live in if it's too much, don't go out and downsize, don't be ready for any crisis that's coming. They don't want anybody to believe that we are heading into this economic meat grinder, political meat grinder, geopolitical meat grinder. They don't want us to know this is happening. And you're right. When it does occur, when the shoe finally drops, and be it a situation where it's a sovereign debt crisis, or be it you know, a financial collapse caused by some other crisis event, or political event, there's just going to be so many people that are completely taken off guard that they'll bow to the whim of anybody if it means putting, in this case, probably beer in the fridge and getting the cable back on. So yeah, we have a very malleable populace. We have a very malleable populace.
There is no question about it. Now we have about 5 minutes left in this segment, a little longer segment after the break, and we're speaking with Charlie McGrath. He's the founder of WideAwakeNews.com, also writes for a lot of different great blogs as well. He has a radio program on the Rents Radio Network. So Charlie, you know, you and I were texting last week. I was telling you that the early voting that Obama's rolling out, right?
Weird,
first president
right?
It's very strange. I mean, it seems like all of a sudden it's like this new campaign strategy, and they might have, you know, numbers and polling that we haven't seen, but I've never seen it before in my lifetime, where 2 weeks outside of the election, it's all about get your vote in now. All of a sudden we're dealing with this major storm, and you know, whether you want to get into weather modification or whatever it may be, the fact is that it exists. A lot of top people are out on record talking about it, but I just have such a distrust for this government because it's just literally been hijacked by people who should be in prison. What's kind of your spider sense saying about this early campaign to vote now because, hey, we might not be able to vote a week before the election, it seems like.
Yeah, I remember reading that text and I thought, you know, that is really interesting. I never really thought about it until you brought that to my attention. But it does seem to be, you know, more early voting this year than any election that I can remember. And I don't know if this is a grand conspiracy or if it's just people trying to get some votes locked up and put in the bank, you know, before the election day. But I certainly see a potential for fraud, right? And I don't even fraud that will be sold to the American people. You know, you remember seeing I don't know, what was it, a week and a half ago, all the angry tweets that were captured and then kind of went viral of what people were going to do if Obama got elected again. You have the red team gearing up all kinds of arguments of fraud and abuse and how we were ripped off if Obama wins. But you have this exact same thing happening on the other side, the blue team saying, that this is going to be bought, it's rigged. If Romney wins, they're going to steal it from Obama. And so you see the stage being set for more of what we've seen in this campaign, which is driving a wedge a little bit deeper, a little bit further between people in this country. So we'll tear each other apart. So we'll blame one another rather than look at, as you said, these scumbag elite who have brought us here. They're the ones that should be the focus of our frustration and anger. But it isn't going to turn out that way. I'm sure you bump into people in your everyday life. You and I both work a job outside of what we love to do here at night or on YouTube. And I bump into people all the time. I deal with people all across this country on a daily basis, different parts, and I hear from both teams, the red and the blue. That these are folks that have no idea what I do in alternative media by night. They only know what I do during the day. And I'll sit there and listen to these arguments from both sides, and I'm like, that's the more frustrating. I would rather have somebody that says, look, McGrath, you're an idiot. There is no collapse coming. There is no, bad things coming. There's no need to prepare. You're just dumb. You're a fearmonger. I'd rather have that guy because at least he's committed to an opinion. He thinks I'm an idiot. Yeah. But the guy who tells me, well, if we just get Mitt Romney in there, he's going to fix everything because Obama has run up the deficit.
Replacement filters, please visit American Freedom Radio's website at AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click the Berkey banner. Once again, that's AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click the Berkey water banner. Not yet available in Iowa.
Do you realize every day we are being put under constant stress from wireless radiation? What's worse is that you don't even know that it's happening. It puts as much stress on our body as if we had a constant viral infection, draining our energy and sapping our strength, or just making us irritable and fatigued. These wireless fields are being emitted from computers, microwaves, mobile phones, power lines, and any electrical appliance. Now there is a solution. A group of research engineers in New Zealand have come up with an active shielding device that shields you from wireless radiation at a cellular level. Blue Shield comes in 3 models, a household, portable, and USB that plugs into any computer. The great thing about Blue Shield is it is very affordable and guaranteed to last. A one-off purchase will see you being protected for years to come. Visit AmericanFreedomRadio.com and click on the Blue Shield banner. Blue Shield, brought to you by the VinnyEastwoodShow.com.
I don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth. So they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. I'll give you an example of that. When I was a little kid, if I got sick, they wanted me to go to the hospital and see the doctor. Now they want me to go to a health maintenance organization. Smug, greedy, well-fed white people have invented a language to conceal their sins. It's as simple as that. The CIA doesn't kill anybody anymore. They neutralize people. The government doesn't lie. It engages in disinformation. Israeli murderers are called commandos. Arab commandos are called terrorists. Contra killers are called freedom fighters. Well, if crime fighters fight crime and firefighters fight fire, what do freedom fighters fight? They never mention that part of it to us, do they? Never mention that part of it.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
Online, all the time, your gateway to the world. AFR! American Freedom Radio. Give it to them.
Truth Brigade Radio, live Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Only on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. The truth has just gotten hotter.
Measuring the summer's day, I only find it slips away the gray.
We're back. Liberty. The website's FabianForLiberty.com. If you want to call in, speak with, ask a question for Charlie McGrath, founder of Wide Awake News. To call in number as usual, 218-339-8525, 218-339-8525, 218-339-8525. And we're, like I said, talking to Charlie McGrath. Also has a radio program on the Rents Radio Network. Okay, so Charlie, we were talking in the break about what a close election. Actually, we were saying that really anybody who buys into the Republican or Democrat whole kind of paradigm,
Right.
really, they cannot be thinking clearly, or they haven't gone down that rabbit hole. Because if you go down the rabbit hole, whether it's false flag terror, whether it's the globalist banksters that are imploding this economy by design, any one of those points, it's like you cannot possibly support Romney or Obama or any one of these clowns because you just know the truth. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, you have to be on the verge of mentally ill, as far as I'm concerned. And we were talking about people we run into in our daily life that are mentally ill. I mean, you are mentally ill if you can live through the 2008 financial crisis that's ongoing. If you can live through the co-opting of the Tea Party, the co-opting of Occupy Wall Street, the so-called wave election of 2010, and going into 2012 election after we've spent trillions of dollars that we do not have, after we've invaded countless more countries, after we've not kept our promise to shut down these bases of rendition around the world, after everything that's went on over the last, I don't know, we don't have to be all going back to the Civil War or to the creation of the Federal Reserve or to the closing of the gold window in 1971. If you have been alive and in a voting age for the last 4 years since Obama was put into office and when the bailout phenomenon began under George W. Bush, if you've been alive during that period and you believe for 1 second, that Barack Obama or Mitt Romney serves your interest because you're a member of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, then you are, without a doubt, clinically mentally ill.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, it's like,
I don't really mean that. I don't want to tick off. I don't want to tick off your audience. I don't mean that.
No, I mean, listen. It's funny to say that though, Charlie. But the reality is, it's like, what is it going to take? Literally, what is it going to take other than Obama or Romney to come into your house with a gun and say, "Give me all your possessions," or take your firstborn child? Till when people realize, wow, these guys are really criminals.
It'll be an enforcement agent working for Citigroup, or an enforcement agent working for Wells Fargo that's working on behalf of Freddie or Fannie because they own your damn house and you were late on a payment. They're going to send these enforcement goons in that have all the power of the government, even though Freddie and Fannie are not government agencies. But you know what? Now they are because we own them. They'll be the ones coming in to throw you out of your house. And this is going to be on behalf of your Democrat/Republican parties.
Yeah, it's funny because you say that and it sounds like so crazy, but then you see, well, no, actually, there's SWAT teaming people that are late on their student loan payments. They're taking people's kids. Yeah, I mean, they're taking people's kids if you don't vaccinate.
You're in Florida, right? You're in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in Florida.
Okay, Matt Widener, he's an attorney in Florida, guest of the program, and really a great guy. He comes on my program once a month and tells us. He's an advocate for people who've been fraudulently foreclosed on.
I actually know Matt very well, Charlie.
Okay, cool. So he'll tell. I mean, you got to get him on because he will tell you the stories of jackbooted thugs kicking in people's doors, taking everything they have on behalf of Freddie and Fannie. If the people really understood what was happening and not immersed in pop culture, then we would have riots in the street that make anything happening in Greece or Spain or Italy look like child's play because. That's how egregious this corruption is. That's how insidious the direction we're going is.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. Now, we're talking to Charlie McGrath, Wide Awake News, founder of WideAwakeNews.com. So we were also saying, Charlie, close election. Like, I still believe Obama's going to pull this thing off because I think the voter fraud is just at epic levels. We saw that in the primaries as well. These black box voting machines that are pre-programmed, I believe, many times with what the outcomes already. It's basically a selection process, really more than election. But what's your thoughts on the outcome of the election? Let's just play it out here and believe in this two-party paradigm load of crap. One of these two guys will win, but I believe it'll be a very close election. If we have a repeat of 2000, though, does this country survive? What does that look like?
Man, I think we have this. I think we're so fractured right now at this point. We've given fodder to both sides, to the red and the blue team. Both of them have all kinds of ammunition that they can launch against one another, so we can fight amongst ourselves. The Republicans, the so-called Tea Party conservatives, and I'm not slamming the Tea Party. I marched in some of the original Tea Party marches, but it isn't the same Tea Party that we have now, this far right wing of the Republican Party. They're already grabbing onto the people who've been on unemployment for 2 years, or the 47 million who are on food stamps. I mean, it's not an accident that Romney's little video clip talking about 47% of the people. I'm paraphrasing because somebody will call me out on it if I don't say it exactly right. Where those folks don't matter because they're not going to vote for him anyway. So we have the red team setting the stage to destroy the blue team if Obama gets back in there, and if Romney and his minions get into the office, you'll have the blue team talking from dusk to dawn about corporate special interest infiltrating the Republican Party, how the Republicans want to slash and burn everything from food stamps to Medicare, you name it, down the line, and you'll see violence erupt from the blue team against the red team. So regardless of who wins, I'm with you, and you and I are really, really rare, I think, now, especially just a week before the election, calling Obama winning this thing. But I agree that on principle that it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter at all which one of these guys gets in here. We're heading for a severe, severe collapse, a severe change of lifestyle, and a real shock to our standard of living. So regardless of which one of them get in there, they're setting the stage for us to battle amongst ourselves rather than look at these scumbag politicians who brought us here.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. Divide and conquer is their strategy, and we're seeing that all the time. All right, let's take a few calls for Charlie McGrath. We have, let's see, 701, you're on the Fabian for Liberty program with Charlie McGrath from Wide Awake News. What's on your mind?
Charlie, yes, I wanted to refer to what you said that, say for a complete economic collapse, changing.
Yeah, caller, your Skype's kind of breaking up there, buddy.
Oh, I wanted to see, whether it be prepping, whether it be homesteading, or whether it's this failed fake to make it. But which world best bring change? Where with setting, you still have to pay taxes. With prepping, you're kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, but you're not really taking any proactive steps. So what do you think would be the best method to make this thing, the dollar collapse, or will not happen?
I appreciate the call, caller. I think he's talking about Charlie preparing with the uncertainty of what's coming. What's the best way to go about it?
Well, I might have misunderstood the question because I thought he was asking what would help bring around facilitate the collapse. Because even if we do prep, so what? We're prepping for what? So we can get through a tough time and then just be back in the same system that has a Federal Reserve Bank truly dictating policy in this country, and the income tax, which is truly just going right into the pockets of the Fed and the ownership that makes it up. And so even if we prep, even if we're ready, so what? We're going to be ready and we're going to prep just to go back into that system. And I appreciate that question, and I appreciate that thought process. And I have spoke to that before, and I've gotten a lot of criticism for it before, because I've said to people, look, this is what's going to change the country. This is what's going to change the way of governance in this nation. Is a collapse, is a realization that we have not been in a recovery, that we've been completely and totally taken to the bank, literally to the feet of these bankers, and our future has been given to them. the only way that's going to change, we started at the beginning of your program talking about could we get a third-party guy in there or somebody that had the country's best interest at heart. I believe that it cannot happen in our current system, and the only solution is we go through this collapse and not forget who brought us here. So, to the caller's question, I've told people before, if you want to bring about a collapse faster, be a burden on the system as much as you humanly possibly can. Be a burden on this system. Let the hubris of these people that think they can dictate from on high how they can keep pumping money into social safety nets that are destined to drain the country even faster. Take part in it. If you need food stamps, go get them. If you can get money from one program or another, you should do it. I'd rather see the money go to the caller or anybody else than I would into the coffers of Goldman Sachs. So this system's going to come apart if the American people aren't taking advantage of these so-called safety nets that are out there. Then who's going to? It's just going to end up going into the pockets of these too big to fail. So my answer is prepare for what's coming. It is an uber collapse that we probably have no concept of how bad it's going to be, or at least most of us have no concept of how bad or ugly it could really be. But make sure that on the backside of that collapse, you're sitting there saying, "Look, I was telling my neighbors, I was telling my friends that this was coming, and here's why it's come. Because we've given all the power, the financial power, we've handed it over to a central bank whose modus operandi is real simple. They're going to inflate the currency, causing bubbles, and then crash the currency, causing depressions. We must get rid of the central banking system and return to a constitutional republic where Congress coins money and determines the value of it."
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, Charlie, because I was actually saying to myself, the system is falling apart. The elites are getting 0% loans from the Fed. They even sit on the board of the Fed. They get the money. So they're looting the Treasury. They take the money to then go buy assets that'll yield them 7, 8, 10%. They're buying up all the gold. They're buying up farmland, everything you can think of. They're getting prepared. So Main Street, how do you get prepared? Well, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I was with some people this weekend, and they were all talking about how bad food stamps were and how it's being abused. And I was the only one that said, you know what? If I was in the poor or middle class or if I could qualify, and I don't even think they even screen you. It doesn't even matter anymore. Why wouldn't I go on food stamps? I mean, they're literally stealing my money via the inflation tax at 9 to 10% a month. Why the hell wouldn't I go on there and try to recoup some of that?
No doubt about it. And the people who are on it, I would believe the vast majority of them need to be on it. And again, this isn't a dig to them. I'd rather see them get it. I'd rather see anybody get it than it go to the people who've collapsed this economy. So, I'm with you on that.
There is no doubt. All right, let's take another quick call. We just got 2 more minutes before our break. Let's go to Anonymous. You're on the Fabian for Liberty program with Charlie McGrath. What's on your mind?
Hi, Fabian. Charlie, thanks for taking my call. Real quick question. Assuming Obama, I'm inclined to agree with your hypothesis there, Fabian, that he gets reelected, steals the election again. What do you think would be the scariest policy initiative that he would intend to implement in a second term, and what do you propose people would be able to do about that?
That's a great question, Anonymous. Thanks for calling. I think it's gun confiscation, or they price ammunition out of existence for the average person to buy it. What do you think, Charlie? And we got about a minute before we go to a break.
I'll make it brief then. But you know what? You have great callers, great questions. I'm not worried about anything that he could possibly pin into legislation at this point. I certainly am horrified of him implementing, or this government implementing, legislation that they've already put into place, things such as National Defense Authorization Act 2012, that can make it feasible that I, or Fabian, is a belligerent actor, or maybe even you, anonymous caller, who called into an internet rabble-rousing, belligerent internet radio talk show, could be labeled as an enemy combatant or giving material support to the enemy and disappeared. So I believe, and I know we're quickly running up to the break here, but I believe we're going to have this election, and regardless, let's say Obama wins, we hit this fiscal cliff early 2013, and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. You there, Charlie?
I think I wrapped it up too quick there.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, hey, wait, what happened?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, we got.
No, but so I believe that's what happens. We hit this fiscal cliff. We have austerity, and look, it's not going to be their fault, guys. We had the super committee of 12 that couldn't come up with the deal, so these automatic triggers are in place. We got to do this for the betterment of the country. But can you just imagine? Can you imagine what this country looks like if on January 1st we take 46 million people and shake loose half of them off the food stamp rolls? Or fill in the blank on social safety net. Can you imagine what this country looks like shortly after that?
Yeah, there's just no way. And even when someone like Mitt Romney, who claims I'm going to cut government here and there, I mean, he would push us into a Greece-style or Spain-style deflationary depression. He's not going to take that on. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's flip-flopped on every single issue in the last 5 years, 10 years. There is just no way. And it's just so amazing that people are conned by this. To think, hey, he's going to come in and put in the $1 trillion plus. I mean, you need somebody, Charlie, that literally looks the American people in the eye and says, listen, we are going to go through some of the hardest times that you've ever experienced in your life, but we're going to come out much better on the other side, but we're going to have to just completely cut everything. Sorry they stole your $7 trillion in Social Security. We're going to have to prosecute bankers and possibly execute some of them for financial terrorism. But that's what the steps that we're going to need to take. So we're going to go to a quick break here. And it's the Fabian for Liberty program. We'll take the callers that are holding. We'll get to your calls when we get back on the other side of this break. We're talking with Charlie McGrath from Wide Awake News.
Shut up! You're wrong. Get over it. I'll prove it to you, man. You're at a ball game or a concert and someone's really violent and aggressive and obnoxious. Are they drunk or are they smoking pot? They're drunk. I have never seen people on pot get in a fight because it is impossible. Hey, buddy. Hey, what? Hey. End of argument.
Your natural organic herbal formula for heart health is Heart and Body Extract.
My name is Fan, and I'm 68 years old, and I live in Vermont. In the spring of 2003, I started to have problems with my heart. It felt like my heart was pounding, made me feel breathless. I tried many different things to try to get some help for myself. Nothing did anything.
Heart and Body Extract is very powerful, very effective, and works quickly.
I saw one of Sharon's ads and ordered Heart and Body Extract. I noticed a difference quickly, within days. The episodes became less frequent, and by a month had completely vanished.
Usually you find a 30-day or 60-day guarantee. Heart and Body Extract comes with a lifetime 100% ironclad money-back guarantee. Details at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305. Call 866-295-5305. 866-295-5305 for Heart and Body Extract.
Warning. 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 American Freedom Radio is habit forming. American Freedom Radio is habit forming. Use the truth carefully. Your life, as it has been, is over.
Don't miss the Middle Chamber of Greater X on AFR. Listen to the Paradigm Shift, Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Central.
Are back. I'm Fabian for Liberty. We're talking with Charlie McGrath from WideAwakeNews.com. Let's go to one more call, 218-339-8525. If you want to be part of the program, let's go to 360. You're on the Fabian for Liberty program with Charlie McGrath. What's on your mind tonight?
Hello?
Yeah, caller, what's on? You got a question for Charlie?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I didn't hear the unmute. Yeah, I got a question. The Frankenstorm that's supposed to hit, right? Do you think Obama and the government would take advantage of that? Like, try to confiscate guns and stuff like that, like they did with Katrina, like martial law almost? This is my first question.
Charlie?
Sure, why not? I mean, they did it in Katrina. That Katrina. If this thing's as bad as they say it's going to be, and look, it's bad. I can't do my program tonight because our studio is in Pennsylvania, and they have no electricity. So why not? I mean, we've seen drill after drill being, natural disasters being used as an excuse to strip people of their freedom.
I mean, if they're willing to put Americans on the kill list and take them out with no judge or jury, I mean, I think they're going to come take your guns if something goes down. Caller,
I think it's interesting. This storm, the hype behind the storm, and usually when something's hyped like this, it turns out being nothing. But every time they do hype something like this, it does. Every time they hype a terror alert or like the underwear bomber or whatever, it usually follows hat in hand with some kind of real onerous legislation coming right after it. Now because of the underwear bomber, you have to go through a naked body scanner if you want to fly across the country. So this storm is affecting 60 million Americans. So anything could happen in this. So I could absolutely see. Matter of fact,
don't give them any. Don't give them any ideas. Charlie.
Give them ideas. But let me share. Let me share with both you guys this is a story from CBS Connecticut right here. The title of it is this, and I think it's right on the money. Resident warns people will be fighting in the streets for gas and food in Sandy's wake. You have 50, 60 million people that are about to get lambasted by this storm. Anything goes, probably.
What else do you have over your mind? One more question, caller. What do you got?
Well, I'm not taking sides or anything. I just want to know your opinion about Mitt Romney. I saw a lot of programs on going back about how he helped someone take out a stump in his yard after he 4 hours of campaigning. He went to go take a stump out of his yard, and he went to go back, and he had his boys with him, his own guys, and just I think I'm a Mormon too. I'm a Mormon too, and if my church had any thought of him harming this country, he would be excommunicated immediately. They haven't done that yet. Well, what's this hype up with? What do you guys think about that?
That's a good question. I hear what you're saying, caller. I totally get what you're saying. Go ahead, Charlie.
No, it's a good question. And obviously, there's people that think he's better off than what we got. But look, it doesn't matter if somebody's a Mormon or if they worship Satan or if they're a Jew or whatever they are. It doesn't matter. There's good and bad in those camps everywhere, except for maybe the Satan worshipers. There's good and bad in every camp. So Mitt Romney is mainstream politician. Mitt Romney, he is for big government. He's a big government Republican, just like George W. Bush. He's absolutely no different. And the folks that are supporting Mitt Romney are the folks who are supporting Barack Obama. I'm sure he's a great guy, helping pulling out stumps, this, that, and the other thing. But he has proven himself to be exactly what we've seen time and time again. Mainstream politician that will do the bidding of the people who fund their campaign and fund their effort to become the leader of this country. So with that being said, I don't dislike Mitt Romney any more than I dislike Barack Obama. I don't think Mitt Romney would do a better job than Obama. I don't think Obama would do a better job than Romney. I think they're going to do exactly what their masters tell them they have to do.
Yeah, well, listen, I think that's pretty spot on. I think Romney would scrub toilets if it meant him winning this election. So that's
yeah.
All right, so we're gonna have to have you on again, Charlie, to talk about preparation and everything else. We keep getting a bunch of calls, and I want to take them because you're a popular guest. We're talking to Charlie McGrath from WideAwakeNews.com. We got 775. You're on the Fabian for Liberty program. Your questions for Charlie McGrath.
Gentlemen, real quick question. What do you guys, how do you feel about moving either out of the country or to another part of the country that perhaps is more resilient, business-friendly, or less big government dominated in given kind of where the trends are going and maybe moving away from certain incredibly leftist major metropolitan areas?
Yeah, well, actually, we were just talking about this. I appreciate the call very much, caller. We were actually talking about this, Charlie, and
during the break.
During the break, go ahead. Why don't you talk about what we were?
Well, because Fabian just asked me that same question. Do you ever think about leaving the country? And I've thought about it, but where are you going to go? I mean, where are you going to go? You go to Canada, it's run by central banks. You can go to Europe, obviously that's run by central banks. You can go to the Middle East and try to avoid getting your head chopped off in the countries that don't want to be involved with our central banking cabal, they get invaded. So, yeah, you go to South America, but they're going to make an enemy combatants list at some point. So, I don't know the answer to that. There's a lot of people who do believe we are where Germany was right before, in the late 20s, early 30s, and we're going to see a government clamp down. I think the big difference is we're a very, very big nation, and there is pockets of this nation who are fiercely independent and who will, stand up and fight, I believe, when the time comes, when this collapse occurs, and we have the implementation of all this legislation. I think we could truly see what the Russian KGB agent said all those years ago, that this country breaks up into different little segments and portions, and you would have a portion out in the West to include Colorado, Utah, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. I think that this area of the country, you have a lot of independent thinkers, a lot of independent people, and a lot of people who ended up here, their families ended up here because they wanted to be free, because they wanted to do their own thing, that would absolutely stand their ground if it came to any kind of super collapse scenario.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I think that there's places you can go for sure, and I think a couple things. I think when this collapse goes down, I think America will be blamed because of its central banking policies and the inflation that it caused around the world. So, if you stick out like an American, then you're in a place where everybody's brown or a different skin tone, that you may not be that safe there. So there's a lot of things that getting out may sound good now, but I think America's too big. I also think that cities, of course, will be a total just nightmare. But if you go out into the country where the populations are low, I don't believe that this government, if it will be bankrupt, it's going to be able to institute martial law nationwide. I mean, they'll do it in big cities, but
I think they'll do that as well. I think we could see, major metropolitan areas come under martial law.
Yeah, let's go to 971. You're on the Fabian for Liberty program. Talking with Charlie McGrath. What's on your mind?
Oh, I guess I'm 971?
That's you, yep.
Sorry, I didn't recognize that. Hey, first of all, about the person about moving, there is no place. I don't like these people who's moving to other countries. As Charlie said, they're all central bank owned. I've looked at it and researched it. Stay here and fight. The big thing is on that, I wouldn't be in Los Angeles or New York and that type of stuff. And another thing, if you read the book Milan La Bay by Boston Tea Party, it will explain a lot about trying for secession and trying, because if you get into a place where there's a bunch of people that are all freedom-minded, that's where the CIA and the FBI and the drones are all going to go. So you have to keep that in mind also. All right, I'm going to move on to the next topic so I can get off the phone quick. The next topic is, I was trying to think of this movie, Charlie, and I just couldn't remember it, about the hurricane. And the perfect storm came. I know that's not the one. And I remember this guy's face, that stupid guy, Luke Perry. So I looked it up, and it's called Storm Tracker. And I would suggest you watch it because it shows how and they even use science, how they can move a hurricane. And it's just through basic science. And then I looked at it closer, and I go, well, I need to see who the director and writer was. Maybe it was a Zionist or whatever. And I looked at it with Andrew Hoffman. So I go, okay, who's he? He doesn't exist. I mean, I spent 5-7 minutes. I can't find the guy. Then I looked at it closer, and they didn't even put it in. It was supposed to go to movie, and they changed their mind and went straight to VHS. So that's an interesting piece of trivia. And then the last thing I got is, I forgot the third one. So thank you, guys.
The Storm Chaser was a movie, correct?
Storm. No, what did I say? What did I say? Storm Tracker. That's what I said.
Okay, I'll check it out. But that is interesting because we've seen what was the movie Knowing that came out before the Gulf oil disaster, and this one of the scenarios in Knowing was broadcast on the news during the movie was this Gulf of Mexico oil disaster, and there's a lot of people that think that these elite forerun. They tell the people what's coming in the form of doing things like this in movies or in print. So it's interesting. I'll check that out for sure.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate the caller. Well, we definitely talked about at the beginning where we touched on it, weather modification. And again, anyone listening that thinks, when I first heard about weather modification, I'm like, that's insanity. But just go do your own research. I mean, it's totally on record. Countries in the Middle East are already rolling out this type of techniques and different science. So, Charlie, thanks a lot for coming on the program. We got to have you back again, my friend. It goes by too fast.
No doubt about it, man. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, very good. We will be back with you soon. All right, that was Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews.com. Check out